Okay, now let's continue learning the Pre-Cal 12 or advanced functions, trigonometric ratios, so unit circle plus trig ratios. So first question is if we have the point A, negative 3 comma 5, 4 comma 5, we got to determine the 6 ratios. So this would be, if we were to draw it, in quadrant 2 with the x value being 3 over 5. So that's here. And then the y value being 4 over 5. So that's here. So now, if we want to solve for the hypotenuse, so that's this, we can go like 3 over 5 squared plus 4 over 5 squared, and we'll figure out that that's equal to 25 over 25, meaning that this is 1, so therefore this is on the unit circle. Okay, so therefore we know the hypotenuse is positive 1. So now, if we need to write the sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent ratio, we would go, we know sine is equal to opposite over the adjacent, or basically like the y over the hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse for sine, so it would be 4 over 5 divided by 1, which is just 4 over 5. We know cosine is going to be the x, so that's going to be minus 3 over 5 divided by 1, because toa, so the hypotenuse is 1, so therefore it's just going to be adjacent. And then for tangent, it's going to be the opposite or the sine over the cosine, so that's going to be like 4 over 5 over negative 3 over 5. So then that's just the same thing as saying 4 over 5 times by 5 over negative 3. So then that's just going to mean that it's going to be negative 4 over 3. Cosecant is just going to be like 1 over sine, or 1 over the y, so we can just flip it, make it 5 over 4. We know secant is 1 over the cosine, or 1 over x, so that's negative 5 over 3. We know cotangent will just be the reciprocal, so it would just be negative 3 over 4. Okay, now let's try to find the value of all 6 trigonometric ratios for each angle in the exact value. So 5 pi over 6, from the unit circle, we know that that is going to be 1/2 for the y, and we know the x is going to be negative root 3 over 2, straight from the unit circle. And then we know the reference angle is like pi over 6. So that's how we can figure that out. So then sine would just be equal to the y, so that's 1/2. Cosine, negative root 3 over 2, because that's just the x. Tangent's just sine over cosine, so that's just going to be negative 1 over root 3, because it's just going to be sine over cosine, so 1/2 over negative root 3 over 2. Cosecant is just going to be 1 over sine, so that's 2. Secant, negative 2 over root 3. Cotangent, negative root 3. Good. Now 5 pi over 3, so that's going to be in quadrant number 4, because the reference angle will be pi over 3. So then that's like right here. And then this will be negative root 3 over 2, with the x being 1/2. And then our sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent ratio will be negative root 3 over 2, 1/2, negative root 3, negative 2 over root 3, 2, and negative 1 over root 3. If your teacher wants no radicals on the bottom, just multiply top and bottom by root 3. Okay? Good. Okay, let's try some of these. So, in which quadrant will the theta terminate if angle theta is in standard position with the given condition? So basically, where is cotangent positive? Well, that's going to be when tangent is greater than 0. So that's going to be quadrant 1 or Q3, right? Because sine is positive in, tangent is positive in 1 and 3. Okay, and then B, cosine greater than 0, so that's going to be either 1 or 4, and then cotangent less than 0, so cotangent is negative in quadrant 4. So that's going to be Q4, because cotangent is like 1 over tangent or cosine over sine. So for it to be negative, one of those has to be negative. So in quadrant 4, the y is negative, or the sine. Okay, and then sine and secant greater than 0. So sine greater than 0 in those ones, and then secant is 1 over cosine. So cosine will be positive in quadrant 1 here. And then with both of these being negative, that is going to be quadrant number 2. Because here, tangent is negative, and then the secant, or 1 over cosine, is negative. So, 2. Good. Okay, now we gotta find the ratios, so the exact measure of the angles. Okay, so if tangent is equal to -1, for when theta is in between 360 to 0, we know that that could exist in 2 places. So tangent, remember, is sine over cosine. So when it's equal to -1, it means one of them is negative. So that's going to be like the 45-degree reference angle. So that is going to be at 135 degrees and at 315. So you would go like 180 minus the reference angle and 360 minus the reference angle. And the reference angle, we can say it's like right here for this one. Okay. All right. And then for this one, cosine theta in between root 3 over 2 for 360. Okay, so again, from the unit circle, we know that that is going to be at the 30 degrees. And then cosine is positive in quadrants 1 and 4. So this is also one of them. So that's going to be 30 degrees, one of the solutions, and then 360 minus 30 degrees. So it's going to be 330. Okay, and then cosine theta -1/2. So cosine is negative in quadrant 2 and in quadrant 3. And this is in radians. So it's going to be the pi over 3 reference angle. So since it's quadrant 2, it's going to be 2 pi over 3. And then the second one would be add pi over 3 plus like pi, so that's going to be like 3 pi over 3. So it's going to be the 4 pi over 3. And then cotangent equals -1. Cotangent will be negative in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. So it's just going to be the 3 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4, because we'd find the reference angle, which is pi over 4, and then like add and subtract. Okay, good. Okay, let's try these ones. So now these are not on the unit circle, so if you do the inverse, you'll get 0.433. Like if you go like inverse sine to solve for the theta. And then we know sine is positive in quadrants 1 and 2. So that's the one for quadrant 1. And then Q2 would be equal to pi minus that. So it would be 2.708. And that's our answer. Now if we have cotangent equals negative 4.87, we know cotangent would be negative in quadrants 2 and 4. So if we solve this, we know that cotangent is 1 over tangent. So we can go 1 over tangent equals negative 4.87. And then go like inverse tan equals 1 over 4.87. We'll get 0.203 negative. So then that's our reference angle. So now we can go and solve it, and we'll get the pi minus 203, and then 2 pi minus that. Okay, hope that makes sense.